We are live.
Good morning to those in the West Coast of the US. Good afternoon to those joining us in the East Coast. And good evening to those in European cities and various cities in Turkey where the West meets the East. Thank you for virtually joining us to commemorate the 74th anniversary of the United Nations Human Rights Day, December the 10th. This also kicks off the year-long celebrations of human rights globally. Today is a momentous day for all of us around the world. My name is Hülya Koç, and I'm the co-president of ETAC, empowering the Turkish American community here in the USA. We are here to strengthen the voice of the Turkish American community. We have wonderful programs for the children, for their education. So basically, we have programs for the young and the young at heart. Today, we're honored and privileged to have guests from all over the world. So I'd like to, before taking more of your time, thank you very much for making this program a reality. Of course, I'd like to begin with Bircan Ünver, who's our guiding light, and who's the founder of Light Millennium. I'd like to thank NAME-OHCHR Erberk, Vice President of ETAC, for relentlessly day and night working for this program to be a reality. Our technical team in Turkey, the head Emre Tezişçi and Beyza Kınalı, his assistant, and of course, I love you, teacher Ayla Hanım, Miss Ayla, and all the participating children and their parents who have worked as hard as the children. We also would like to let you know that we are here making this program a reality together with some other organizations. Those are our Turkish American fellow leaders from Florida, from Chicago, Illinois, and from Utah. In addition to these wonderful participatory Turkish American associations and their leaders, we also have the Norwegian global organization, KM Global. We thank you all, and I'd like to say Happy Human Rights Day. At this point, I'd like to introduce you to our moderator, Hayal Koç. Hayal Koç, besides being a successful businesswoman, is an activist, a true global philanthropist, an angel investor, and a mentor to global startups. Here she is. We're honored to have you all. Here's the floor to you.
Thank you so much, and really excited to be here with you today. As my mom mentioned, today is a celebration of Human Rights Day, the very day when in 1948, the United Nations General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights consists of a preamble and 30 articles that set out a broad range of fundamental human rights and freedoms to which all of us everywhere around the world are entitled. It guarantees our rights without distinction of nationality, place of residence, gender, national or ethnic origin, religion, language, or any other status. This 75th anniversary of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights celebrated today, December 10th, 2023. Ahead of this milestone, the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights has also launched a year-long campaign to showcase the UDHR, focusing on its legacy, relevance, and activism. So my mom mentioned a couple of the organizations that have been supporting this initiative and celebration, including several Turkish American associations, the Light Millennium, the Charitable Global Human Advancement Organization, as well as the United Nations Department of Global Communications. So thank you to all of them. And I want to say to all of our Turkish speaking attendees today, özetle bugün çok önemli bir gün. 10 Aralık Dünya İnsan Hakları Günü'nü kutluyoruz. Herkesin katıldığı için çok çok teşekkür ederiz. Ve şimdi bu vesileyle bugün keynote speaker'ımız anons etmek üzere Bircan Ünver'e mikrofonu veriyorum. Thank you so much again for joining our program. And I'm going to hand it off now today to Bircan Ünver to introduce our keynote speaker.
Thank you so much. It is my great pleasure and honor to be part of this project. Indeed, it is one of the most important documents, and we will hear from our keynote speaker, Ms. Hawa Taylor Kamala Diallo, who is the chief of the UN Department of Global Communications Civil Society Unit, that Universal Declaration of Human Rights is a must in order to be accepted as a member state by the United Nations. And also, she is recently, for the Spirit of Eleanor Roosevelt Award, she received it on behalf of the UN Department of Global Communications on the UN Day on October 24. Before going further, I'd like to introduce her formally. Hawa Diallo, Chief of the Civil Society Unit at the Civil Society and Advocacy Section, UN Department of Global Communications, has extensive United Nations experience in public information outreach and fostering civil society partnerships and facilitating youth and women's organizations. Ms. Diallo began her United Nations career in 1987 in the Department of Public Information and has served in 2 United Nations peacekeeping operations in Cambodia and Somalia, respectively. She has also worked for the United Nations Human Settlement Program, UN Habitat in Nairobi, as an Associate Human Settlements Officer and a Partners and Youth Officer. Ms. Diallo received the Spirit of Eleanor Roosevelt Awards, which I mentioned, on behalf of the United Nations Department of Global Communications Civil Society Unit, an award acknowledging the efforts and work of the Civil Society Unit, which we are proud to be a part of it, both on behalf of the Light Millennium, and I could say, of course, on behalf of the ETAC. Before handing over the microphone and inviting to deliver Ms. Diallo for her keynote speech, I'd like to mention from the personal observation over the years that she is the real champion to encouraging youth and children. And she was recently in Africa. I've seen the photographs, amazing. And I say she must join us. I'm not sure if she's gonna able. And surprisingly, despite of her very, very busy schedule and challenging with the time and traveling, she is very kind, accepted. Welcome, and welcome to joining us. Floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Birjan. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Birjan is a sister in the work that we do towards making the world a better place. I'm delighted to be here with you. So I think I'm saying good morning, good afternoon, and I think good evening to those who are in Turkey. It's really a pleasure for me to be here with you. I want to thank ETAC and Light Millennium, 2 NGOs that are part of the association family of the UN Department of Global Communication, really carrying the torch of the United Nations. I mean, you know more than anybody else the role and the power of civil society, and how much of a responsibility you have in working with the UN to really further the UN messaging campaigns, and really taking on activities on your own, such as the project or this event we're doing today. But happy Human Rights Day. It's a beautiful day. I just, before going to Sierra Leone, I moved into a new house, Berjan, and I came back, it's full of boxes. But the one good thing is I have a lot of light in this house. And as a matter of fact, I'm fighting the sunshine right now, which is not a bad thing, because it's so bright and airy in this house. It even gives me hope in terms of the things that I want to do. So thank you so much. And as we are celebrating, as you mentioned, the 74th anniversary of Human Rights Day, it's important, as you mentioned, to go back and just think that 1948, you know, was the time when the UN adopted this miraculous document, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which really talks about enshrining the rights of all. So even in 1945, human rights was a pillar in the work of the United Nations and still remains so. You know, I'm honored when I think about civil society and women who led that process, like Eleanor Roosevelt, ensuring that civil society's voice and an issue as important as human rights, dignity, and justice for all, you know, were topics that were captured at the San Francisco conference for the signing of the UN Charter, as well as the UN Charter itself. So Bejan, thank you for mentioning the spirit of Eleanor Roosevelt Awards. It was really emotional, touching. You know, it kind of gave me a time also to self-reflect about the work that our organization is doing, the United Nations, but specifically my office in the civil society unit. As I don't have to tell anyone, you know, human rights and a human rights centered approach is key and relevant to anything that we do, any work of the United Nations, or the work really of organizations such as yours. We say that the, you know, sustainable development goals, all 17 of them, are interconnected, interrelated, and human rights really is at the core of everything that we do. So rightfully so, I also want to highlight the fact that, you know, the High Commissioner of Human Rights, Volker Turk, and that office launched the campaign, the year-long campaign to celebrate, you know, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, you know, marking those years since the adoption of a really transformative and, I don't know, really on point document. You know, in the words of the High Commission of Human Rights, this Universal Declaration of Human Rights 75 initiative is an opportunity for us to really stop and recall really what the Declaration of Human Rights mean, really that consensus that the world had on such important rights, and really to reset and strengthen the infrastructure that had been created over the years focused on human rights. We hope that this, in his words, would rekindle that spirit, that impulse, that vitality, I think, that we feel in people like Eleanor Roosevelt so many years ago, and really will sort of, you know, incentivize us around the world to focus on human rights, and that it unifies us in the face of so many global challenges we have around the world. Birjan mentioned that I was in Sierra Leone. That's where I'm originally from. I was there for some family events, but, you know, I always try to take time to look around and to see what's happening wherever I go, a little bit with a UN lens. And it was just, you know, it was remarkable to be in Sierra Leone. I hadn't been there in like 3 or 4 years, but I felt the energy of the people. I felt the hunger, the calling of the people, and especially young people, in terms of, you know, what is going to happen for me in the future, you know, what is happening for me now, you know, and whenever I travel sometimes to some places, I thank myself for the opportunities and the access that I have received as an individual, because I can tell you that there are not distant family members, but close family members who are in a worse situation than I am. And that has to do with access to information, access to knowing what my rights are as a person, access to quality education, you know, access to opportunities. And, you know, it's a realization, and it makes me think about the work that we all are doing in the UN. And it makes me think about landmark documents like the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. I think you start off by knowing first that you have rights and knowing what your rights are. But then we all, as citizens, as people, as governments, have to go beyond letting people know they have their rights. Because what I saw is, if you are hungry, you don't have time to think about rights. You know, so that's why, again, we're saying a human rights center approach that connects all these dots. And that we as people, I mean, that's what I came back saying, oh my God, what am I doing? Every time I do an event, I have to stop and think, how is this going to affect somebody's life in Kathmandu, in Sierra Leone, somewhere in a remote area in Turkey or in China? Making sure that I stay real to the concerns, the local situation of the people, who these landmark agreements or the innovative work we're doing should respond to. So it's a bit of self-reflection. This happens to me every time I travel and I go home. I start to think, what do I need to do better? And, you know, how can I work better with organizations such as yours, ETAC and Light Millennium, because I know the work that you're doing and I know how it is reaching people. So as I said, this year, you know, we acknowledge Human Rights Day, and the focus is dignity, freedom, and justice for all. And again, this theme for me is so important because it's directly related to Article 1 of the Declaration, that all human beings are born equal, you know, free and equal in dignity and rights. And which is why, for me, you know, I love the work that I do in the UN. I really do. But when I think about these type of frameworks and phrases, again, I understand that I need to triple up my speed and focus on the work that I'm doing. You know, because since 1948, of course, we've made significant progress, but I'm sure you can agree that there's still so much work to do. When you look around the world, all the conflicts, whether it's in Somalia, in Yemen, in Afghanistan, in Ukraine, or Tigray, you know, it leaves so much for us to do. And again, various bodies of the UN have worked tirelessly to uphold this declaration and other frameworks of the UN and to make sustainable progress towards universal human rights. For us in the Department of Global Communications, you know, we're a communications outfit. So we do work very hard to spread the work of the UN across global platforms. And in doing so, we work very hard on outreach, both to, you know, private organizations, NGOs, to universities, to member states, or maybe to the average citizen, you know, as you know, so the public sector. And the main aim is for us to collaborate on all these vital issues. So civil society participation has been seen as an imperative way to engage local communities and organizations if we want to make change. I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the recent report that the Secretary General launched, Our Common Agenda, which is really the blueprint of how the United Nations system should be engaging and will engage with different stakeholders. And, you know, I'm happy when I see that civil society engagement and listening to the voices of young people are two of the major tenets of this report. I'm sure you've heard that recently the UN approved the creation of a UN Youth Office. it was quite, yes, quite momentous for me because I've worked in the youth area for some time. And it was so gratifying to see the UN reach out to youth voices around the world so that young people were involved in the consultation process in creating this youth office. And now that resolution was passed a couple of weeks ago, and the Fifth Committee of the United Nations, a very important committee, is looking into the budgetary implications. So we hope that in January 2023, that UN office will be operationalized. And it's important because it's an initiative that has been created with and for young people and by young people as well. So I mentioned that, although we've had change, so much needs to be done. There's still large-scale human rights violations that are documented every year. I'm sure the UN has a whole system of special rapporteurs on human rights and various human rights issues. Hundreds of thousands of children are currently child soldiers. This is something that is so mind-blowing. And millions are suffering from the abuse or neglect. Individuals, peaceful protesters, and journalists are violently silenced in many parts of the world. And many are discriminated against based on their sexual orientation, ethnicity, gender, identity, and disability. And this is why, having this year-long celebration focused on rejuvenating our focus on human rights is so important. So, while it's important to celebrate all this progress towards guaranteeing human rights for all, it's equally important to identify where and how we can improve to continue moving forward. So we can make meaningful change towards real universal human rights. To work towards this, we have to be willing to speak out publicly about human rights abuses and bring awareness to the injustices people face on a daily basis. And in some parts, individuals cannot do that on their own soil. So we as civil society, as international organizations, have to take that place. We have to be their voice. So with increased participation from public-private partnerships, as well as further civil society involvement, we can work toward a better future where the rights of all are respected. Engaging citizens at the grassroots level especially is important. It's an important and identifiable way in which we can see change and progress in our own communities. We must be willing to stand together in the face of human rights injustices to achieve equality for every one of us, no matter who we are, where we're from, or where we live. Human rights are an inherent right. With continued progress and contributions from various human rights defenders around the world, a just future can one day be achieved. So, I've already mentioned that the human rights is clear. The Declaration of Human Rights clearly says that human rights are universal and indivisible. Human rights are the foundation of peace and development. While we still have so much to accomplish, as I stated, we have seen that great progression since the adoption in 1948. This can be seen with the growth of citizens around the world gaining knowledge. Advocacy, that's the thing we do in my department, about their individual and collective rights, to greater emphasis on disability and women's rights. I was invited 2 weeks ago to Turkey, and unfortunately I couldn't go. There was a big international summit on human rights and disability rights. And this is something that is so important. I was able to do a video message from Sierra Leone. And, in doing that message, I thought about a personal experience. I have a cousin who's about, she's a little bit older than I am. She's 60 something, who cannot speak and she cannot hear. But she is one of the most independent, passionate, intelligent, and industrious people I've ever seen. I spent a lot of time with her, And although I don't know sign language, somehow spending time with her, I found myself speaking with her in a language that she's created for herself. And then I thought to myself, wow, imagine if this individual lived somewhere where inclusion was paramount. Her rights as an individual person, as a disabled person, were at the forefront. I could only imagine the type of person she could be. And don't get me wrong, she's phenomenal. But it brought to reality this importance of having inclusion and having this, rights for everybody in all parts of the world. So for me, it's really a momentous time to be here with you. And I'm looking forward to, I don't know if I'm going to come to San Francisco, maybe. That's where I'm coming. If I don't make it to Turkey, because I think it's important that we are not sitting in our desk at the United Nations and talking a lot, but also coming down to the grassroots level, to the people level, and talking and working with you. I understand you have the initiative that works with young people. I don't know if any of them are connected right now, speaking directly to them. I want to, motivate them, empower them, letting them know that the sky's the limit as a young person. Never take no for an answer. Keep forging, keep coming up with your brilliant ideas, keep coming up with your innovation, and knowing that the world belongs to you, not just tomorrow, but right now, today. And whenever possible, be sure to make all of us accountable as your senior citizens and your elders. But at the same time, know as young people that this cannot be done alone, that you have to work with the more seasoned people that have come before you. I, for one, know that I am standing on the shoulders of many strong African women that have come before me in my family and working very hard, maybe not so much as a young person, but to keep that legacy. So remember that the youth of today and tomorrow, that collaboration, partnership with those around you is of utmost importance if we are supposed to, or we are going to uphold these principles that are so strongly enshrined, not only in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, but also in one of my favorite documents, the UN Charter. So thank you so much, Birjan. Thank you once again. I love you. Thank you for keeping me connected to the community. I'm looking forward to doing more things with ETAC in the coming year. Let's stay connected and see how we can do more of these, fantastic events together. Thank you so much. And I wish you the best for the rest of the event. Over to you, Birjan.
Thank you so much, dear Hawaii. I can't formally say address you because I've been inspired also really the essence of the celebration and your points and your message for the children, youth, and exciting news I read about the UN Youth Envoy and the division. It's remarkable. Really, UN has been changing according to really what is needed the most. And we thank and appreciate very much for your very inspirational, both throughout the generations and along with informative and your experience firsthand, both with the people on the ground from all walks of life and at the UN, all levels. We really appreciate very much. We are honored to have you. Thank you so much. And I'm now handing over the mic to our moderator, Hayal Koç. Thank you.
Yes, I'll echo her sentiments. Thank you so much. That was really, you summarized a lot what we were all kind of thinking, and you did it so eloquently. So thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And now we want to get to a fun part. We talked about the younger generation. So now we will hear a little bit from our children. So I'm going to hand it off to Mrs. Ayla Sönmez Birer, who is ETAC's Children's Club's online program director. She is an art and music teacher who has dedicated her life to children and their happiness. We're really thrilled to have her today, and she'll be going through some of our children's videos. Mrs. Ayla Sönmez-Birer, the floor is yours.
Çok ama çok teşekkür ediyorum. Herkese merhaba, kucak dolusu sevgiler gönderiyorum ve iyi akşamlar diliyorum. Çünkü şu anda İstanbul'dan bağlanıyorum. Böyle güzel bir programa dahil edildiğim için, bu programın bir parçası olduğum için tabii ki çok ama çok mutluyum. Aynı zamanda da biraz heyecanlıyım. Aslında programa katılanlar da arasında düşündüğünüz zaman en az heyecanlı olması gereken kişi benim. Çünkü her hafta bu saatlerde zaten çocuklarımızla bir araya geliyoruz ve canlı çocuk kulübümüzü yapıyoruz. Ama zannedersem ki heyecanımın büyük bir kısmı şundan kaynaklı. ETAC'ın Birleşmiş Milletler'deki üyeliğinin kutlandığı ilk program bu program. Onun için hem gururluyum hem de dediğim gibi çok heyecanlıyım. Ben sözü çok fazla uzatmak istemiyorum ama bugün tabii ki Dünya İnsan Hakları Günü ve İnsan Hakları Evrensel Bildirgesi ile ilgili birkaç söz söylemek istiyorum. İnsan haklarının tanınması, yaygınlık kazanması ve korunması doğrultusunda önemli bir kaynak bu bildirge. Yüzyıllardan beri insan haklarının geçerli olduğu, savaşsız ve sömürüsüz bir dünyada yaşayabilmek hepimizin özlemi. Hem bizim özlemimiz hem de tabii ki çocuklarımız. Bugün bu programda hem ETAC Çocuk Kulübü çocukları hem de Amerika'daki diğer Türk çocukları bir araya geldiler ve harika bir işe imza attılar. Dünyanın birçok yerinden çocuklar var bu programda. Şimdi onları hatırlatayım size. İstanbul, Utah, İzmir, Florida, Kayseri, Chicago, Mersin, San Francisco Körfez bölgesi ve Eskişehir'den 30 tane çocuk bir araya geldiler ve İnsan Hakları Evrensel Bildirgesini bizlere anlattılar, okudular. Diliyorum ki onlar bu maddeleri yaşayarak büyürler ve önlerinde çok ama çok güzel bir hayat olur. Ve en önemlisi onların bu emeklerinden dolayı çok ama çok teşekkür ediyorum ve hepsini şu anda öpüyorum. Ve bu güzel programı yapan, katkıları bulunan herkese ama herkese çok teşekkür ediyorum. Şimdi sözü daha fazla uzatmayacağım ve sözü Senhöse'den ilk maddeyi okuması için Tutku'ya vereceğim. Hoşça kalın.
Bütün insanlar özgür, onur ve haklar bakımından eşit doğarlar. Akıl ve vicdanla donatılmışlardır. Birbirlerine kardeşlik anlayışıyla davranmalıdırlar.
Herkes ırk, renk, cinsiyet, dil, din, siyasal ya da başka türden kanaat, ulusal ya da toplumsal köken, mülkiyet, doğuş veya başka türden statü gibi herhangi bir ayrım gözetilmeksizin bu bildirgede belirtilen bütün hak ve özgürlüklere sahiptir. Ayrıca bağımsız vesayet altında ya da kendi kendine yönetilmeyen ya da egemenliği başka yollardan sınırlanmış bir ülke olsun ya da olmasın, bir kişinin uyruğa olduğu ülke ya da memleketin siyasal, hukuksal ya da uluslararası statüsüne dayanarak hiçbir ayrım yapılamaz.
Everyone has the right to life, liberty and security of a person.
Hiç kimse kölelik ya da kulluk altında tutulamaz. Her türden kölelik ve köle ticareti yasaktır.
Hiç kimseye işkence ya da zalimce, insanlık dışı ya da aşağılayıcı muamele ya da ceza uygulanamaz.
Herkesin nerede olursa olsun yasa önünde bir kişi olarak tanınma hakkı vardır.
Herkes yasa önünde eşittir ve ayrım gözetilmeksizin yasa tarafından eşit korunmaya hakkı vardır. Herkes bu bildirgeye aykırı herhangi bir ayrımcılığa ve ayrımcı kışkırtmalara karşı eşit korunma hakkına sahiptir.
Everyone has the right to an effective remedy by the competent national tribunals for act violating the fundamental rights granted him by the Constitution or by law.
Hiç kimse keyfi olarak yakalanamaz, tutuklanamaz ve sürgün edilemez. Everyone is entitled in a full quality to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal, in a determination of his rights and obligations and of any criminal charge against him.
Hiç kimsenin özel yaşamına, ailesine, evine ya da yazışmasına keyfi olarak karışılamaz. Onuruna ve adına saldırılamaz. Herkesin bu gibi müdahale ya da saldırılara karşı yasa tarafından korunma hakkı vardır.
Everyone charged with a penal offense has the right to be presumed innocent until proven guilty according to law in a public trial at which he has had all the guarantees necessary for his defense. No one shall be held guilty of any penal offense on account of any act or omission which did not constitute a penal offense, under national or international law at the time when it was committed. Nor shall a heavier penalty be imposed than the one that was applicable at the time the penal offense was committed.
Hükümün, o devletin sırları içinde seyahat ve oturma özgürlüğüne hakem vardır.
Herkesin sürekli baskı altında tutulduğunda başka ülkelere sığınma ve kabul edilme hakkı vardır. Gerçekten siyasal nitelik taşımayan suçlardan kaynaklanan ya da Birleşmiş Milletler'in amaç ilkelerin aykırı fiillerden kaynaklanan kovuşturma durumunda bu hak ileri sürülemez.
Herkesin ülkenin yurttaşı olma hakkı vardır. Hiç kimse keyfi olarak öğrenilen yoksun biri kılamaz. Kimsenin biri kullanılınız değiştirme hakkı yarısınız.
Men and women of age with limitation due to race, nationality, or religion have the right to marry and found a family. They are equal as to marriage during marriage and its dissolution. Marriage shall be entered with only free and full consent in intending spouses. The family is the biggest fundamental and entitled protection of society and the state.
No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his property. Everyone has the right to own property alone as well as in association with others.
Herkesin düşünce, vicdan ve din özgürlüğüne hakkı vardır. Bu hak din veya inancını değiştirme özgürlüğünü ve din veya inancını tek başına veya topluca ve kamuya açık veya özel olarak öğretme, uygulama, ibadet ve uyma yoluyla açıklama serbestliğini de kapsar.
Herkesin kanat ve ifade özgürlüğüne hakkı vardır. Bu hak müdahale olmaksızın kanat taşıma ve herhangi bir yoldan ve ülke sınırlarına gözetmeksizin bilgi ve fikirlere ulaşmaya çalışmaya, onlara edinme ve yayma serbestliğine de kapsar.
1. Everyone has the right to freedom of peaceful assembly and association. 2. No one may be compelled to belong to an association.
Herkes doğrudan ya da serbestçe seçilmiş temsilcileri aracılığıyla ülkesinin yönetimine katılma hakkına sahiptir. 2. Herkesin ülkesinde kamu hizmetlerinden eşit yararlanma hakkı vardır. 3. Halk iradesi hükümet otoritesinin temelini oluşturmalıdır. Bu irade genel ve eşit oy hakkı ile gizli ve serbest oylama yoluyla belirli aralıklarla yapılan dürüst seçimlerle belirtilir.
Herkesin toplumun bir üyesi olarak toplumsal güvenliğe hakkı vardır. Ulusal çabalarla, uluslararası işbirliği yoluyla ve her devletin örgütlenme ve kaynaklarına göre herkes insan onuru ve kişiliğin özgür gelişmesi bakımından vazgeçilmez olan ekonomik, toplumsal ve kültürel haklarının gerçekleştirilmesi hakkına sahiptir.
Herkesin çalışma işini özgürce seçme, adil ve elverişli koşullarda çalışma ve işsizliğe karşı korunma hakkı vardır. Herkesin herhangi bir ayrım gözetilmeksizin eşit iş için eşit ücrete hakkı vardır. Çalışan herkesin kendisi ve ailesi için insan onuruna yaraşır. Bir yaşam sağlayacak düzeyde adil ve elverişli ücretlendirilme hakkı vardır. Bu gerekirse başka toplumsal koruma yollarıyla desteklenmelidir. Herkesin çıkarını korumak için sendika kurmaya ya da sendikaya üye olma hakkı vardır.
Everyone has the right to rest and leisure, including reasonable limitations of working hours and periodic holidays with pay.
Herkesin kendisini ve ailesinin sağlığı ve iyi yaşaması için yeterli yaşama standartlarının hakkı vardır. Bu hak beslenme, giyim, konut, tıbbi bakım ile gerekli toplumsal hizmetleri ve işsizlik, hastalık, sakatlık, dulluk, yaşlılık ya da kendi denetiminin dışındaki koşullardan kaynaklarının başka geçimini sağlayamama durumları da güvenlik hakkınıza kapsar. 2. Anne ve çocukların özel bakım ve yardıma hakları vardır. Tüm çocuklar evlilik içi ya da dışı doğmuş olmalarına bakılmaksızın aynı toplumsal korumadan yararlanırlar.
Herkes eğitim hakkına sahiptir. Eğitim en azından ilk ve temel öğrenim aşamalarında parasızdır. İlk öğretim zorunludur. Teknik ve mesleki eğitim herkese açıktır. Yüksek öğrenim yeteneğe göre herkese eşit olarak sağlanır. 2. Eğitim, insan kişiliğinin tam geliştirilmesine, insan haklarına ve temel özgürlüklere saygıyı güçlendirmeye yönelik olmalıdır. Eğitim, bütün uluslar, ırklar ve dinsel gruplar arasında anlayış, hoşgörü ve dostluğu yerleştirmeli ve Birleşmiş Milletler'in barışı koruma yolundaki etkinliklerini güçlendirmelidir. 3. Ana babalar çocuklarına verilecek eğitimi seçmede öncelikle hak sahibidir.
Herkes topluluğun kültürel yaşamına özgürce katılma, sanattan yararlanma ve bilimsel gelişmeye katılarak onun yararlarını paylaşma hakkında sahiptir. 2. Herkesin kendi yaratıcısı olan bilim, yazım ve sanat ürünlerinden doğal, manevi ve maddi çıkarmaları korunmasına hakkı vardır.
Herkesin bu bildirgede ileri sürülen hak ve özgürlüklerin tam olarak gerçekleşebileceği bir toplumsal ve uluslararası düzene hakkı vardır.
Herkesin kişiliğinin özgürce ve tam gelişmesine olanak sağlayan tek ortam olan topluluğuna karşı ödevleri vardır. 2. Herkes hak ve özgürlüklerini kullanırken ancak başkalarının hak ve özgürlüklerinin gereğince tanınması ve bunlara saygı gösterilmesinin sağlanması ile demokratik bir toplumdaki ahlak, kamu düzeni ve genel refahın adil gereklerinin karşılanması amacıyla yasayla belirlenmiş sınırlamalara bağlı olabilir. 3. Bu hak ve özgürlükler hiçbir koşulda Birleşmiş Milletler'in amaç ve ilkelerine aykırı olarak kullanılamaz. Madde 30. Bu bildirgenin hiçbir hükmü herhangi bir devlet, grup ya da kişiye burada belirtilen hak ve özgürlüklerden herhangi birinin yok edilmesini amaçlayan herhangi bir etkinlikte ve eylemde bulunma hakkı verecek şekilde yorumlanamaz.
Thank you so much for all these videos and for Ayla Teacher for organizing them. Çok güzeldi bütün videolar. Herkese çok teşekkür ederiz. Bütün çocuklara hem vaktiniz için hem güzel sözleriniz için çok teşekkür ederiz. Harika olmuş bütün videolar. Thank you again for all these wonderful videos, such great, such great terms and reminders for all of us. So now I'd like to hand it off to Bircan Ünver for some closing remarks.
I am most inspired. This is what we really need the most, not in California, San Francisco, throughout the US, every city, every school. This is actually the basic of the peace education. Each school, starting the kindergarten, should teach this. And this is really, for me, one of the most excited projects, because I learned Universal Declaration of Human Rights maybe around late 20s or maybe mid, because it wasn't discussed. It's not in the news, it's not in the media, it's not in the schools. We only heard, I only knew since I was 17 years old or 16, United Nations. And it was a monument. It's so huge, so distant, like, like on the moon. It's like unreachable. And I was always curious about the United Nations. In that time, my understanding and my excitement was all countries are coming together. And like all peoples, all nations, and they are working, collaborating together. If there were 3 or 4 people from different background, cultural background, Istanbul is also one of the most diverse metropolitan city in Turkey and in the world. And I was saying, oh, it's like a United Nations. Even I never, had been there. But once I got in the United Nations throughout the year, and I've seen our keynote speaker mention it, the very inspiring, but also very fine way of that the UN is kind of one part, but also what it has been done at the UN, how does it reflect to the local peoples, how it's related with them, or how they relate themselves with the United Nations. So this is, I think, where we could start. I mean, of course, United Nations and UNICEF and every section has been doing this, but still there is a disconnection from the education system at large. Why don't we have peace education? Why? And only conflict and kind of creating conflict is or has been sustained. So this might be one of the best way to start teaching Universal Declaration of Human Rights, starting, if not kindergarten or first, second, at least elementary. And also introducing the UN, the basic, like it should be a basic handbook, like teaching as a class at each and every school, entire world. So then if anyone comes up with all those kind of hateful ideas seeding in the minds of children, then when they read them, when they relate with them, and when they hear about these ideas and United Nations, they will start differently. As a little example, for instance, once my nephew and sister visited me in New York, and then most people ever think to visit the United Nations because it's remarkable. It's very, what you see, like all the gorgeous conference rooms and general assembly hall and trusteeship, etc. Then take the children there. And I took them, and he was asking questions to the guy. And then a couple months later, he was excited when the teacher mentioned in the class that that day was the United Nations Day. So suddenly he got excited and expressed his first-hand experience observation. So we really thank, and I thank each and every student, and I hope they will continue to follow up, and each year maybe they will bring an idea and concept to celebrate with us. Maybe they will lead the project like this. And with that also, I'd like to thank the team of the UN Department of Global Communications Civil Society Unit, because also we have so much access, sometimes shrink, but sometimes most people also are not aware. For instance, we are able to attend conferences, briefings, participate in UN-NGO conferences, or register for the major conferences in person. It's like one of the major things, and collaborate and connect and understand and learn. Along with also, especially DG's Department of Global Communications provides us weekly announcements to follow up all the UN major conferences, campaigns, youth, disability, water conference, Ocean Day, all everything UN does and care the most. So with that, I also thank that this particular one, and also whenever I am able to submit in a timely manner that is related with the United Nations programs, it's been included. So I greatly appreciate and thank again to our keynote speaker and ETAC and all the students and their families, to encourage them, prepare, have them to record the video, along with our contributing organizations, of course, Hülya Hanım, President Hülya Koç, and Name Hanım, Name Arbeck. We really work very close with her day and night. I think we were able to deliver in the way that we aim and design and target. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for those wonderful words. And we're very thankful for your participation, your guiding light throughout this program to make it really possible. And again, thank you so much to our keynote speaker, Hawa Diallo. We really appreciated your presence. You made our day today and made this celebration special. So I'm going to switch to Turkish for the Turkish speaking audience. Başta keynote speakerımız olmak üzere Hawa Diallo ve bütün programı gerçekleştirmemizde büyük katkıda bulunan Sayın Bircan Ünver'e, bütün öğrencilerimize, ailelerine, bütün sivil toplum örgütlerine, bütün Türk toplumlarına, herkese çok çok teşekkür ederiz. Ve tabii ki ETAC'ın başkanımız Hülya Koç ve başkan yardımcısı Name Erbark'a çok çok teşekkür ederiz. Bütün katılımcılara da, dinleyicilere de teşekkür ederiz. İyi ki varsınız. Herkesin İnsan Hakları Günü kutlu ve mutlu olsun. Thank you so much and happy Human Rights Day, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Happy Human Rights Day. Happy Human Rights Day.
Happy Human Rights Day.
Thank
you so much.
Thank you, Hayal.
Hawa, is there any special sign to celebrate, to have the picture all together with the Happy Human Rights Day? Is there any special sign?
A sign? No, like a hashtag.
Like white cards or something.
No, surprisingly they don't have. No, but I think human rights is every day. So let's think of something.
Yes, and let's target something for next year, maybe.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, everybody.